Homeworld, Deserts of Kharak, is a sand lover's wet dream where you, yes you, not me or my mother, you can construct a fleet of highly armored vehicles carrying massive railguns and tactical nukes that can decimate the local population. The desert is pretty much just a massive turf war between the humans and other humans, which all started from religion. Where have I seen this before? Anyway, before we fully start, thanks guys for the support in the last video, it means a lot. We're at 13 subs in total. This is 22.1 meters tall if everyone was stacked on top of each other, or 2,210 toenails, 28 AR-15s, or 73 feet tall for my American fellows. If I remember or figure out how to do it in this video, I will split it into little timestamps at the bottom, hopefully. Pretty please, I'm afraid. Anyway, so without further ado, I started this run on 3-star difficulty, and off to the races we went. There is a lot of cool and very exciting lore in this game. I usually would not bother explaining, but for this it's kind of important. So all you need to know is this chick Rachel Sajet leads an expedition with a land carrier Kapisi into the Great Bandad Desert to find the Jirachi objects of the Kaha-Toba. However, the killed Galsein, the main protagonist, believe that it is against the first commandment of their god to enter space or something like that. I don't know, like who created this, but we'll go with a flow. Anyway, we'll just get started into our first mission.
Cooling tanks online at 4.3 power.
We begin our journey parked up before departure at Epsilon Base. This mission serves as a tutorial to the game's mechanics, so I won't go into too much detail here. All you need to know is resources, trip limits, and numbers at the bottom of the screen representing unit groups, which is pretty standard for any RTS. Arriving at the Boneyard, we find no bones, funny enough, but a place for us to refuel and gather supplies before we head out fully. Rachel's truck allowed me to repair armored units, meanwhile my scavengers could pillage the local depot for CUs to make even more vehicles. Our time is cut short, however, as a super scary storm is approaching, meaning we have 10 minutes to resource up and then depart. Reinforcements are on the way, but they are being hunted by the locals, so I use the LAVs to punch through the enemy railguns and encircle them, and rendering them pretty much useless. The three main vehicle types follow pretty much a counter triangle like rock, paper, scissors, where light attack vehicles are great at closing the distance between railguns, limiting their effectiveness. They suck against armor due to the low damage per shot. Railguns are good at slow armored targets but suck against light craft. And armor is exceptionally good against smaller vehicles as they have decent bulk and range, but are straight cheeks to railguns due to the slow speed they move at, giving them time to paint their targets. Exploiting this battle triangle was useful in ensuring that I would always have a tight matchup, which allowed me to secure more reinforcements in this mission, ending up with roughly 8 armored craft, 8 light attack vehicles, and a bunch of random crap as well. A very good start to this expedition. Now on our own, we must advance deeper into the desert. After a quick scuffle with the locals, the first proper mission has us investigating a friendly wrecked carrier. My job was to ensure that Rachel could properly extract the data from the Wraith, so setting up a defensive perimeter. Utilizing the LAVs to quickly engage targets approaching from different directions proved to be super effective, as I still had to defend our carrier after all, and not too long later, we had salvaged the wreck. Part 2 now requires us to deal with a Galsein cruiser over the ridge. The cruiser has high HP and the ability to produce light and medium craft to engage targets as well. However, using new technology we unlocked from the wreck, I can finally craft railguns to fill in the battle triangle I mentioned earlier. I did also unlock the cruisers tab and support cruisers alongside it. Cruisers are their own separate class compared to the other vehicles I've mentioned, with many varieties we will unlock later. For now, we can only build support cruisers. It does poor damage, but it has quite the amount of HP, and can heal friendlies as well. Right now they kinda suck, but I won't spoil it, and they can get pretty OP. Also, just FYI, I have my LAVs in Group 1, my Armor plus a Support Cruiser in Group 2, and Railguns plus a Support Cruiser in 3, and then my Salvages in 0 with a Cruiser as well, so the Salvages can deposit their resources at the Cruiser, so they don't have to go all the way back to the mothership, pretty much. Continuing on, with my reorganized groups it was time to send the troops in, and as I was approaching slowly we could finally see what we were up against. The Cruiser was surrounded by light targets with railguns located on the cliff. The railguns posed a serious threat, as even by one salvo of the fire could completely destroy one of my armored units. So I tore off the LAVs from the main assault and used their ability to distract them for long enough that I could eventually destroy the cruiser. An outstanding victory with very few casualties. Rachel scouts ahead to reveal a big crashed spaceship, rich in valuable resources and artifacts that would prove very useful in our journey. Preliminary scans show that there are 3 additional wrecks in the site's basin below. So that was our next plan. New base runners allowed me to establish a scanner network at the wrecks below. Since this is a game at the end of the day, we would not go scot-free. The Galsein are targeting our scanners, meaning we must defend each post. With enemies on the horizon, the best thing in the game was finally unlocked. Strike fighters. These single-handedly pretty much solo everything in the game and make it just trivial, to be honest. Strike fighters are just jets essentially that you can launch from your carrier. They only cost however much it is to build them and have no recharge or rearm cost. However, they still do contribute to your fleet cost, which again is how many units you can have at once. Strike fighters can be launched by clicking on the carrier and using the hotkey to send out a wave of 3 on a target. They will travel towards a target, logging onto enemies and firing missiles upon said targets. They are great at crowd control due to having splash damage and are crucial to my strategy to win. The only downside is they take quite a bit to recharge all of them, as only so many can dock with the carrier at one time. With the ability to scramble fighters to each base as needed, this made gathering the required data a breeze, and upon reaching 100% and clearing the remaining enemies out, I had gained the much needed information for the next mission. This mission is essentially a part 2 from the previous one. We are at the same location with the same unit setup. This time the storm is cleared and there are more powerful artifacts at each of the wrecks we haven't discovered. I haven't mentioned artifacts yet, so I'll briefly explain them. Missions will have wrecks that when blown up with mines will reveal resources, with some containing artifacts like this. Upon retrieval, these will provide powerful buffs to pre-existing units for completely free, like this one that provides more power to the Kapisi, allowing me to assign more units of power to each different subsystem. Some artifacts are quite useless, only reducing the cost of items when you already have like a bazillion of everything, but we'll get to that when we do. Anyway, our task is to now salvage each of these wrecks we just scanned in the previous mission, which is considerably easier as I can just essentially create a huge death stack with my units to protect Rachel, instead of having every single one split up like last time. Upon retrieval of the last artifact from the third wreck, we were being ambushed by one of the enemy carriers, so we had to force to mass retreat back to the plateau. The hard part is my entire fleet is pretty much across the other side of the desert, including all my salvages and slow vehicles. So in the dash back, I managed to lose a couple salvages and railguns because they are quite slow, which wasn't too bad considering the amount of troops that were assaulting me. Safely back at the plateau, I was cornered from every single angle. What was there I could do? I'd been saving an emergency for now, and I think it was the right time to use it, to be honest.
Sedim reinforcements have arrived. I say again, Sedim reinforcements have arrived. All units, hold fast and maintain position.
A friendly carrier called the Sakala comes to rescue us and provide aerial support that just pretty much nukes out instantly all the enemies, besides 2 siege cruisers, funny enough. And with some quick work from my new strike fighters, the Galsein carrier was now on the run. How the tables had turned. Quickly, I lost some of this recording. It got corrupted. I'm honestly not sure what happened, but I'll try to do the best of what I've got here. The Ashoka from last mission had retreated nearby. We destroyed its resourcing operation, and now it was pissed. It parks up nearby in this valley, and it was our time to destroy our first enemy carrier. I had failed many times up to this point due to being swamped by enemy forces, so I strategically bombed the enemies guarding the perimeter, while maintaining a distance, and baiting the rest of the defenses. With most of the enemy units eviscerated, I could launch my attack on the carrier. Using my armor to tank, railguns to deal high DPS, and LAVs to attack any other small craft, the carrier's health started to drop quickly. When it hit 25%, it dropped a huge turd on my troops, stunning them momentarily and fleeing like a little piss baby wimp. And I was not going to let that slide. So with my strike fighters, I managed to hit a crazy snipe on the carrier, ending this long mission struggle. Mission number 7, the Galsein Base. Our primary objective here is to secure this big huge base in the middle, which is crucial artifacts important to our expedition. The compound has turret encampments that surround it with patrols surrounding the area as well. The turrets have high HP, armor, and damage with air attack capabilities as well, so you can't really just brute force them. To take the turrets down efficiently, you have to disable them with Rachel's EMP. Targeting individual turrets is ineffective, so by EMPing the control unit, it disables all the nearby ones, and by destroying the control unit, it will bring all the subsequent turrets offline. Simple as that. My plan was to use the EMP to disable the control tower, then bring my railgun squad in as they have high single target damage and sunder ability that reduces enemy defense, and they could easily destroy the control tower before it came back online. With these main turret positions down, I could easily move my salvages and the rest of the fleet up to reinforce positions and slope up the much needed RUs and CUs. After the salvaging was complete, it was time to push further towards the facility. I utilized the same strategy before to take out the enemy turrets, allowing my fleet to move up even further and protect Rachel, and when it's ready, I sent her in to begin her research. While Rachel was researching, we got some good news and bad news. Now, which one would you like to hear, my dear little viewer? Since this is a video, I'll pick for you, as I sit here essentially talking to myself like some schizo madman in a dimly lit room. Whatever. Anyway, the good news is that we got a free cruiser for free that provides free firepower. Did I mention it was free? Anyway, the bad news is I had parked the bus right in front of the part where the whole compound was going to explode. And I had to escape, which I was getting sandwiched between two different assault forces. I was forced to engage with the rain force, which I was already traveling in this direction for anyway. As you can see in the footage, I completely panicked and started to just mash buttons and just mash stuff everywhere, dude. I had no clue what I was doing. Because, yeah, there was a whole fleet of railguns right in front of me.
Ready. Light attack vehicle is under hostile. Hostile designated. Orders! Fire! Keep moving!
I scrambled my fighters and pretty much all my defenses to try to just spearhead and push it, which actually worked quite well because I was already closing the gap between them, so they didn't get any time to really let off any shots. But you can tell I was just mashing buttons. You could just hear the voices in the game. I hate the voices, dude. They just start spamming. These audio lines. I don't know why. It's so annoying. I did leave these audio voices on as they are quite useful in providing intel when I need it most. Like, when some troop I forget about is in danger or new enemies arrive, I did turn the frequency down in the settings, but I'm not sure if that actually made a difference as they still just start, like, barking orders and ruining my entire footage, but there's not much I can really do, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, the ranged forces, for the most part, were a pushover, and all I had to do was guide Rachel out and ensure her safety, and a simple mission was completed.
Whoa! Yankee with no brim! Where one do we get? Whoa!
Tomb of the Ancients has us salvaging these huge shipwrecks, which contain lots of resources and much needed artifacts to carry me home. On this stage, there are 3 different wrecks I can dismantle to secure potential artifacts. However, speed is the utmost important, as there are Galsein salvage team that are actively trying to steal the races from me, of which, of course, we cannot have. To aid us in this race against time, I could finally craft tactical bombers and close air support. We actually did have the bombers unlocked before this, as in one of the early missions you do get given 2 for free. I'll explain them quickly, but the bombers, well, drop bombs. They are great for clearing out armor targets and do large area damage. The main issue is though they're a bit clunky and sometimes take forever to drop the bombs, like their pathing is a bit special, meaning that it can get shot out of the air easier. And close air support is amazing at softening up targets by circling above them and providing explosive sustained fire. The bad thing is, like the bombers, is they sit up in the air for quite a while, making them an easy target for enemy SAMs. Overall, they are a huge improvement nonetheless. After the second resource node was destroyed, another artifact was discovered. The Galsein carrier perched on the top of the hill started advancing to my position. This was blocking my attempt to finally secure the final potential artifact from the other wreck. I navigated my fleet through the canyon under heavy air attack to eventually park it up where I could safely retrieve the artifact, and all that was left now was the carrier. With the carrier fast approaching, I set up my defensive line, utilizing the Capisi to meat shield for the weaker units. And as it approached us, I realized it had a pretty pathetic escort force, to be honest. Like, the only threat was the 2 air defenses with EMP capabilities. But otherwise, the carrier took a second, then eventually went down to my overwhelming fire. A simple but fun mission that unlocks some much needed air support for later. The friendly Sakala is under attack. In the valley we are engaged with 2 carriers with the Sakala at our side. However, they are under heavy fire. There is this narrow corridor in the middle, which separates 2 lanes essentially, with each carrier on each side. Our objective is to defend the Sakala and hold its position, while we gather even more resources on our side and slowly advance up to where the 2 carriers are going to retreat to, ensuring that we destroy all the opponents we face along the way. I dispatched my railguns to the other lane to support the Sakala, as with all the upgrades they had, they could outrange most vehicles with ease, alongside support cruisers to repair the Sakala. Plus, since the enemy had a missile strike from their respective carriers, I could not park anything too close to the Sakala, making the railguns a perfect choice. On my side, I was slowly pushing up, encountering resistance along the way. The annoying part was there was a lot of AA, so my strat of just sending all my planes to nuke the enemy was a bust, so I just had to spearhead through the enemies. Nonetheless, I did destroy them and the defending forces, allowing me to just like zerg like nuts, dude, with all these just resources. Oh, it was so good, mate. Eventually, after enough time had passed, our objective changed from defending to attacking the carriers. Only minutes later though, I got this weird cutscene, and at first I thought my game was wigging out since it already crashed like 8 times during this recording. But the Sakala managed to actually get destroyed, even though I thought it would be clear, as it like went from defending to attacking, so obviously you'd be like, oh, okay, we're attacking now, we're all ready to attack. However, in fact, there were still siege cruisers, and even though the thing was on its deathbed, it is scripted to just like start charging past all the enemies, even on low HP with like no support. To avoid soft-locking myself, I just dumped the cruisers over quickly to maintain its health and pumped out pretty much my entire air force just to nuke the remaining resistance. Once I was ready for the final battle, I gathered my fleet, rounded out my groups with even more units, and then I finally sent it in. The first carrier took quite a while to take down, totally due to my skill issue. I pretty much just nuked my own craft half the time, and my railguns were just targeting some like random crap in like this weird like pulsating stack. Eventually, it did go down, however, at a very costly expense. With this experience, I did manage to take down the other one much easier, using a preemptive strike to nuke all the support craft, and with better positioning on my units, I took down the second carrier with less casualties way quicker. This is another 2-part mission, where our first objective is to clear the plateau of enemies, so our supply plane could safely land and we could obviously resupply. Nothing too crazy. I love this mission not just for the gameplay, but for the crazy amount of upgrades you get to unlock. And considering the pretty much unlimited resources I had, making achieving these upgrades a breeze. Most of the upgrades are relatively small damage upgrades or cost reductions, but they are upgrades nonetheless. Plus we also get an increase in fleet size, so I could just have more crap on the field. There are multiple wrecks located around this area that also have artifacts, which means even more power scaling for my already OP crew. Anyway, my strat for this mission was to slowly march my entire fleet around and salvage each wreck one by one. For now, I could not just bomb the plateau, as they are guarded by anti-air, but we will get to that later. After a grueling half an hour, I know some of these missions take forever because I'm trying to get hella stacked, and it makes it quite fun actually. Even though I do edit these down to probably like, what, less than a minute, 2 minutes for you guys? That's fine, I do enjoy these. The OP artillery vehicles, like seriously, these things are insane. They shoot over obstacles while doing splash damage, and with upgrades they now have EMP, so they're cracked as hell. Anyway, using them made this mission so easy. I could pretty much just drive really close where the enemies could not see me and carpet bomb all the enemies on the plateau at the very top, only having to destroy just a certain groups to get the mission complete, which is very good. The second part of the Khashar Plateau, where we pretty much just park the boss for a solid 10 minutes, which is pretty easy since my entire fleet is just in a huge death stack again for repairs. Which consisted of using mortars to just barrage the one group, and using the carrier's missiles as well to just nuke the other group, because I could not have been asked to send anything down to chase them. To no one's surprise, however, like literally, I mean, no one could have guessed this on their first playthrough, we actually get betrayed by the Sakala carrier, who shoot down our own friendly airship. The audacity to do such a thing, to me, is a crime, and how could they? Trust me, they were going to pay. For now, that is the mission completed. After our sudden betrayal from the last mission, the civilian units are chasing down Rachel, who went to research another wreck someplace else. All I know is that we have a couple LAVs, armor and railguns, plus Rachel to defend herself from the onslaught of vehicles attacking her in the crater. This mission is very cute, I feel. It reminds me of the start of the campaign, when this were our only units. Nonetheless, it's important that we keep everyone alive. Once the enemies were defeated, we had to make a mad dash for the rendezvous point. Rachel and some armor were the only ones who made it, which is all I really care about, to be honest. As the Capisi arrived, however, it was cooking bad, so we had to first uncover the coolant artifact from a wreck nearby to bring our heat level down. On another note, the Sadim had essentially our technology, so it was pretty much just a 1v1, where they had a huge carrier missile to strike us, and plenty of fighters to go around. They also had better unit compositions, including AA missile batteries, and smaller complete armies. This was extremely apparent when during my resourcing operations, there was constant, nuclear bombs just being dropped and little task force being sent after me, which really stalled my progress as I just could not get a break, honestly. There was just stuff everywhere. Eventually, after lots of setbacks in the form of stupid missile strikes, as soon as I went to launch my assault, I had maneuvered all my troops out of formation to prevent them from destruction. I decided to charge in.
Go! This is the alert. Carrier is taking fire. Hostile strike craft down. Enemy armor on approach. Hard. Support groups are under attack. Immediate fire support on that position.
The command carrier.
Oh no!
So maybe the Capisi is not as tanky as I thought it was, and maybe I do suck at aiming the missile. Many runs later, I finally had a breakthrough. The garrison defending my side I was attacking from was gone. It was time to fully commit to the assault. The Sakala was taking good damage, but all my experienced troops started to die. I was trading damage for my numbers. I had lost pretty much all my armor, LAVs, and most of my air force when the Sakala started to retreat to the other side of the crater. With my force battered enough, if they had time to retreat and regenerate, I would certainly have been done for. With my last remaining strike fighters, even if it was suicide, I had to send everything in to ensure my victory. And with my last strike force, there she went. I had defeated the traitor Sadim and emerged victorious. The final mission of our journey was at our hands. We had finally reached the site of the primary anomaly that they've been hyping up in all these stupid cutscenes I didn't put in the video. Anyway, we must deploy scanners to help our orbital cannon in space target correctly. So we reset up the fleet from last mission with fresh units and deployed the scanners in each region. Once the scans were done, we could finally use the orbital cannon, which allowed me to strike pretty much anywhere on the map for huge damage. Like our missile from the carrier, but free and better. A carrier pulled up, but with the help of said orbital cannon to nuke its defenses, it was pretty easy to eliminate. But then the screen cut to a cinematic. Before this final battle, I just wanted to say that, dude, some of these cinematics low-key have aura. They did not have to go hard with these entrances, gang. Also, the sound design is absolute bliss. The music is cool. I like the music. I think the music fits the theming amazingly. The only thing that ruins it is the stupid voices in the background that start ripping lines off the time. Oh, the slightest inconvenience. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Anyway, the enemy carrier flagship was approaching fast from the horizon. This was the final battle. I retreated all my units back to a defensive position while I charged up the laser and missiles to start nuking the flagship before our engagement. The carrier had a whopping 65k HP while ours had a measly 15k, so this was the final stand. It was do or die. Using last mission's mistakes, I sent out the armor and assault cruisers in to tank and deal huge damage, while spamming my air force to ensure that I could have constant reliable damage. The Raglans were crucial as they could reduce the total armor of the flagship, and because of all my smart tactics and preemptive strikes, the battle was won, easily defeated as well. And that marks the end of our journey in the deserts of Kharak. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end, and thanks again for the support in the last video. It really means a lot. I'm planning to make another video, although my schedule doesn't seem like it. This one will be somewhere deep in the ocean. However, until then, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.